Welcome everyone to the unscheduled council meeting on the 28th of July 2026, which I now declare open at 5:42. This unscheduled council meeting has been called to consider one confidential item prior to the scheduled 6:30pm council meeting this evening. While this will be a short agenda, I would still like to warmly welcome members of the public who have joined us tonight. As well as being live streamed, the video recording of the public session of this meeting will also be available on our website. A reminder as well to the public in the gallery that as per Governance Rule 75.1, personal video and audio recordings are not allowed. On behalf of Moonee Valley City Council, I respectfully acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which Moonee Valley is located, the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people of the Kulin Nation, and I pay my respects to their spirits, ancestors, community members and elders past, present and emerging, and we also extend this respect to Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander peoples. We now move to item 2 on the agenda, which is apologies and leave of absence. Councillors, I have received a request for a leave of absence from Councillor Isa. Can I please have a mover and seconder that Council grant Councillor Isa a leave of absence for the period 28th of July 2026 through to the 17th of August inclusive. Moved by Councillor Cosgrove. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Samantha Byrne. I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? And I declare that the motion is carried unanimously. I also note that we have Councillors Sypek and Councillors Theocharides shortly joining us online as well. The next item on the agenda is conflicts of interest. Does any councillor wish to declare a conflict of interest on the confidential item on the agenda this evening? We now move to the confidential items. The motion to close the meeting to the public pursuant to section 66(2) of the Local Government Act 2020 to consider the confidential item 4.1 Councillor OH&S matter is displayed on the screen. Councillors, can I please have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Sam Byrne, seconder by Councillor Fran Cross. Councillor Samantha Byrne, would you like to speak to the motion?
I think that the wording on the screen is more than appropriate, but it's that Council resolves to close this meeting to discuss the following matters. It's considered confidential under the terms of section 3(1) 4.1 Councillor OH&S matter as it contains confidential information relating to security information, being that if released is likely to endanger the security of council property or the safety of any person, and F, personal information being information which, if released, would result in the unreasonable disclosure of information about any person or their personal affairs. The report contains personal information. So I think it speaks for itself.
Thank you, Councillor Samantha Byrne. Councillor Cosgrove, would you like to speak to the motion? Thank you, Councillor Cosgrove. Would any other councillors like to speak to the motion? I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. The unscheduled council meeting will now be closed to the public at 5:46pm. We will see you shortly at the ordinary council meeting, which is scheduled to commence at 6:30pm. See you soon.
Womanjika everyone, Womanjika meaning welcome. My name is Auntie Julianne and I'm an out of the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people, and in recognition of doing my welcome to country, I'd like to pay my respects to my elders past, present, future and any elders that were here today, and I would also like to welcome you all here today. The Wurundjeri Woiwurrung tribe consists of 3 families, the Nevins, the Terricks and the Wandans, and I'm part of the Nevin family. The 3 families all descend from one woman called Annie Barratt, which makes us one big family. Annie Barratt is the youngest sister of William Barratt, a pioneer for Aboriginal people in the 19th century, fighting for equality and land rights. I'm here today to welcome you all to the land of my ancestors. We call the land within our tribal boundaries our country. The Kulin Nation, Kulin meaning man, is made up of 5 groups. They are the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung, Boonwurrung, Tanarong, Wathaurong and Dja-dja-wurrung. And to give you an outline of the Wurundjeri country and the area we cover. Wurundjeri country extends from north to the Great Dividing Range, east to Mount Baw Baw, south to the Morley Creek and west to the Werribee River. We cover a diverse range of land from the mountains to the beach and everything in between. Many thousands of years ago, if an Aboriginal person from another tribe wanted to cross our boundary, they would have to sit at the boundary and wait for the Narragadah, which is the headman, or an elder to come past to give permission to cross. Traditional Aboriginal culture was highly territorial, and visitors risked a violent reprisal for crossing a tribal or clan boundary without this permission, and this is how a welcome to country originated in our culture. Traditionally, being welcomed onto country meant you respected Bunjil's law. Bunjil, the wedge-tailed eagle, is our creator, and Wah the crow is our protector. And as long as you looked after the country, you had access to our waterways and our land resources. And when you enter our country, we ask that you respect our resources, our fauna, flora and water, as they are very special to us. And when you are ready to leave, we ask that you leave it the way you found it.
No, I'm still here. No, all good. No, that's fine.
We have lots of council services that support our community. We support families with children, including health services for children and mums, vaccinations, playgroups, childcare, and kinder. We support young people in our community. Through events and activities, we have services that can support people with disability, older people, and carers and family of people with disability and older people. Our libraries support everyone in our community, help people learn new things, and are free to join. We support our community to have fun and be active through events and activities, sport, and recreation areas. We help look after our places and spaces, the environment, and local businesses. We have laws to keep people safe, to make sure buildings are safe, to make sure roads and footpaths are safe, to make sure our places and spaces are safe. We make sure everyone follows the law to keep our community safe and happy. Moonee Valley. It's a great place to live, work, and visit.
Wominjeka everyone, Wominjeka meaning welcome. My name is Auntie Julianne and I'm an elder of the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung people, and in recognition of doing my welcome to country, I'd like to pay my respects to my elders past, present, future, and any elders that were here today, and I would also like to welcome you all here today. The Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung tribe consists of 3 families, the Nevins, the Terricks and the Wandans, and I'm part of the Nevin family. The 3 families all descend from one woman called Annie Barratt, which makes us one big family. Annie Barratt is the youngest sister of William Barratt, a pioneer for Aboriginal people in the 19th century, fighting for equality and land rights. I'm here today to welcome you all to the land of my ancestors. We call the land within our tribal boundaries our country. The Kulin Nation, Kulin meaning man, is made up of 5 groups. They are the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung, Boonwurrung, Tanarong, Wathaurong and Dja Dja Wurrung. And to give you an outline of the Wurundjeri country and the area we cover. Wurundjeri country extends from north to the Great Dividing Range, east to Mount Baw Baw, south to the Mooloolik Creek and west to the Werribee River. We cover a diverse range of land from the mountains to the beach and everything in between. Many thousands of years ago, if an Aboriginal person from another tribe wanted to cross our boundary, They would have to sit at the boundary and wait for the Narragaeta, which is the headman, or an elder to come past to give permission to cross. Traditional Aboriginal culture was highly territorial, and visitors risked a violent reprisal for crossing a tribal or clan boundary without this permission, and this is how a welcome to country originated in our culture. Traditionally, being welcomed onto country meant you respected Bunjil's law. Bunjil, the wedge-tailed eagle, is our creator, and Wah the crow is our protector. And as long as you looked after the country, you had access to our waterways and our land resources. And when you enter our country, we ask that you respect our resources, our fauna, flora and water, as they are very special to us. And when you are ready to leave, we ask that you leave it the way you found it.
We have lots of council services that support our community. We support families with children, including health services for children and mums, vaccinations, playgroups, childcare, and kinder. We support young people in our community. Through events and activities, we have services that can support people with disability, older people, and carers and family of people with disability and older people. Our libraries support everyone in our community, help people learn new things, and are free to join. We support our community to have fun and be active through events and activities, sport, and recreation areas. We help look after our places and spaces, the environment, and local businesses. We have laws to keep people safe, to make sure buildings are safe, to make sure roads and footpaths are safe, to make sure our places and spaces are safe. We make sure everyone follows the law to keep our community safe and happy. Moonee Valley. It's a great place to live, work, and visit.
Welcome everyone to the 28th of July 2026 scheduled council meeting, which I now declare open at 6:30 p.m. I'm Deputy Mayor Phil Byrne and filling in for Mayor Rose Isa tonight, and I'd like to warmly welcome members of the public who have joined us tonight, as well as those who are watching online. As well as being live streamed, the video recording of this meeting will also be available on our website, so attendees in the gallery are advised that your presence may be recorded. I also ask that mobile phones be switched to silent mode during the meeting. A reminder as well to the public in the gallery that as per Governance Rule 75.1, personal video and audio recordings are not allowed. On behalf of Moonee Valley City Council, I respectfully acknowledge the traditional owners of the land in which Moonee Valley is located, the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung people of the Kulin Nation, and I pay my respects to their spirits, ancestors, community members, elders past, present and emerging. We also extend this respect to other Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. We now move to item 2 on the agenda, apologies and leave of absence. I note that Mayor Isa is on an approved leave of absence, and also we have Councillors Sypek and Theo Carides joining the meeting online as well. We now move to item 3 on the agenda, which is confirmation of the minutes. Councillors, can I please have a mover and a seconder for the minutes from the council meeting to be held on Monday the 29th of June 2026 to be confirmed? Moved Councillor Sypek and seconded Councillor Samantha Byrne. Councillor Sypek, would you like to speak to the minutes? Councillor Byrne, would you like to speak to the minutes? Okay, would any other councillor like to speak to the minutes? Okay. So I'll put that. I'll put the minutes to the vote. So all those in favour, and that is passed unanimously. So the next item on the agenda is foreshadowing of conflicts of interest. Does any councillor wish to flag a conflict of interest in any item on the agenda for this evening? Councillor Adams.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to declare a general conflict of interest on item 9.1 MV/62/2026 at 1040 Mount Alexander Road, Essendon.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Any other councillors have a... Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I would like to foreshadow a general conflict of interest with regard to item 9.2 MV708/2025 at 79 Middle Street, Ascot Vale.
Thank you very much, Councillor Jones. The next item on the agenda is presentations, and before we go to the councillor group, I'd like to offer our congratulations to the Honourable Ben Carroll, Member for Niddrie, on becoming Victoria's 50th Premier. We look forward to continue to work together to deliver more positive outcomes for the City of Moonee Valley, and we wish you well. I'd also just like to do a brief presentation on NAIDOC Week as well, which Council supported with various events across the municipality. Singer-songwriter woman Naomi Deanne performed an acoustic set of soul-infused pop singles at the Clock Tower Cafe. I was lucky to attend that with Councillor Adams as well, and it was an excellent performance. The Sam Merrifield Library enjoyed a morning of cultural activities with Yarn Strong Sister guiding the attendees through storytelling sessions, ochre painting and bush bouquets. There was also a Woi-wurrung language session for the kids that taught greetings, numbers, animals and body parts with the guidance of Wurundjeri educators. Councillors, are there any other presentations for tonight? Councillor Adams.
Thank you, Chair. I have a really special presentation tonight. I was delighted to have received these wonderful designs prepared by the Grade 3 and 4 students at Moonee Ponds West Primary School, showcasing their creativity, innovative ideas and contribution to the design of the new Queen's Park West playground. And I understand that some of the students may be watching this council meeting tonight, so I want to say a big thank you to the students. The students have put a lot of thought, imagination and hard work into these designs, and it's been wonderful to see the ideas they have come up with. Fiona, their teacher, gave a fantastic challenge to the students to design and build a prototype of a piece of playground equipment incorporating movement and simple machines. They were also asked to think about what materials would be best suited to bring their designs to life. What I particularly love about this project is that they weren't simply asked what they would like to see in a playground, they were challenged to think like designers and problem solvers, considering how their equipment would work, how people would move through it, what simple machines could be incorporated and what materials would be appropriate. And they've come up with some really creative ideas. There is enormous value in listening to children when we design spaces for them. They bring imagination, creativity and perspectives that adults might not necessarily think of. While the competition winner has not been announced, I understand there will be a further opportunity for community feedback during the detailed design stage to help refine the winning playground concept. Once a designer is appointed, I'm very pleased that their designs and concepts will be passed on for consideration. I'd like to thank teacher Fiona and all of the grade 3 and 4 students at Many Ponds West Primary School for the time, thought and creativity they put into these designs. We look forward to the announcement of the competition outcome, the next phase of community consultation, and ultimately the development of an exciting new playground at the much-loved Queen's Park. Thank you, students, and well done. Thanks, Mayor, Deputy Mayor. Next presentation I have, if I may, I've got another two. We had the Winter Textile Recycling event. More than 200 people attended our Winter Textile Recycling event at Nancy Kirchner Neighbourhood Centre. MVCC collected a staggering 4.162 tonnes of textiles with an average of 19 kilos per person. These end-of-life textiles will now be recycled into raw materials like yarn and then crafted into something brand new. My next presentation is on the Pick My Park project. So 3 Moonee Valley Park projects have reached the public voting stage of the Victorian Government's Pick My Park program. This program is investing $30 million to improve access to quality parks and open spaces in growing communities. Our projects focus on upgrading existing spaces to better support how our community lives, plays and connects. The projects included Fairbairn Park at Ascot Vale, Overland Reserve in Keilor East and Hallkeeper Lane in Moonee Ponds. Voting is open until Monday the 3rd of August. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Councillors, are there any other presentations? Councillor Cosgrove.
Thank you. I wanted to make a brief presentation on the new incinerator gallery exhibition that opened 2 Fridays ago. It's called Views and Vistas of the Valley, and it's drawn from Council's permanent art collection, and all of it pieces about Moonee Valley across the ages, a few hundred years, and it's really wonderful. Wonderful exhibition. I encourage anyone to get down. It's on until the 31st of October. I think the oldest piece in there was from Robert Hoddle, which was Moonee Valley long before it looked anything like I had seen it. So well done to the team at the Incinerator Art Gallery. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Cosgrove. Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. A couple of presentations from me. So last weekend, residents had a wonderful day on the 26th of July heading down to Boeing Reserve. The sun was shining and the weather was actually quite warm. We had National Tree Day, planted 10,000 seedlings. I know that Councillor Adams and I believe you were there yourself later on in the afternoon, or we crossed paths at different times.
Slow start, but I got there.
Yeah, the planting effort is an important step towards reaching our MV 2040 target of 30% tree canopy cover by 2040. And everyone that attended was also able to take home a free seedling, a sausage from some of our local Rotary clubs that supported the event, and as well as a coffee. And congratulations to everyone that attended, and congratulations to the staff for putting it on. I'd also like to acknowledge that Council received an appreciation award from Somali Community Inc. So the Farah Wasami and the Somali Community Inc. group put on an excellent event for Somali Day down at the at Debney's Park on the 18th of July. Myself, Councillor Adams and the Mayor, Rose Isa, all attended that event, and they were very grateful for council support in enabling to put the event on, and they gave us this trophy which we can put on display. Thank you.
Any other councillors? Councillor Sam Byrne.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I would like to declare that I have been pre-selected by the Liberal Party to run in the upcoming state election on Saturday the 28th of November 2026 for the seat of Niddrie. I have advised the CEO in writing and will nominate and take leave at the appropriate time. Thank you. In addition to that, I would like to say thank you to the wonderful Grade 4 team that took the Essendon North Primary School students into the chamber. Councillor Barnes and Councillor Jones and I were lucky enough to have approximately 60 students, I think it was, 80 students, 60 to 80 students in here on Monday as part of our civics program. It was wonderful to see how engaged they were with all levels of politics. They had some wonderful questions and we were able to run 2 mock debates with some, I would say, some future councillors and future mayors. So I thank the organisers who were able to bring them in, and it was a really wonderful experience, and if any other schools would like to get involved, please reach out.
Very good. Future's in safe hands. Was there any other presentations? Okay. So the next item on the agenda is petitions and joint letters. Councillors, do we have any petitions or joint letters? Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Change.org and Jotform petitions were received with 487 signatures, including at least 80 which were from Moonee Valley, requesting that Moonee Valley City Council conduct an immediate safety audit of all multi-use sporting grounds within the municipality that contain permanent cricket concrete pitches. The petitions also request that Council develop a stage program to remove or replace permanent concrete cricket pitches on football grounds with safer alternatives, including a stage infrastructure program to transition to safer wicket systems across the municipality. The petitions further request that Council consult with sporting clubs, governing bodies and the community about safer shared sporting facilities and prioritise player safety by avoiding permanent concrete cricket pitches when planning and upgrading community sporting infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. In accordance with Governance Rule 62.5, I refer the petition to the CEO for consideration. We have now come to public question time, and I note that we have received 6 public questions this evening. The first 2 questions are from Ray Burge, who's not joining us this evening. So on behalf of Ray, I'll read out her questions. Ray's first question is, my question this month relates to the flood events in the week of the 26th of June to the 4th of July approximately. During this period, the Dean Street Service Road was unexpectedly flooded for a day to a height of approximately 300 millimetres, well over the speed humps located there. A cursory examination of the Bureau of Meteorology records, no rain fell. Unfortunately, we have no photographs of the event, as the person who observed it noted it was so deep that he had to reverse his car backwards up the one-way street to escape it, and it was somewhat unsettled by the experience. Can Council please describe the process whereby inexplicable flood events attract and causes established? Thank you, Ray. I refer your question to the CEO, Helen Sway, to respond.
Thank you, Ray. Through the chair. When flooding is reported to Council, the site is inspected and relevant pits and pipes are cleared to ensure the drainage system is functioning as intended. Where recurring flooding issues are identified, more detailed investigations are undertaken to determine any underlying causes and whether more substantial asset upgrades may be required. Thank you.
Thank you. Ray's second question reads, my second question relates to the installation of the sausage-shaped barriers located in the Dean Street Service Road area, plus bottom of Patterson Street. Do these barriers comply with the relevant Australian standards for debris protection? Does Moonee Valley City Council provide engineering oversight for the location of these barriers? Are they impeding the rate of water runoff during a storm, creating a risk to ratepayers' properties? Are they designed to assist in rubble and soil runoff from the racecourse development and associated truck movements? What assessments were done in relation to the optimum location of these devices, given the area had an unexpected flood last month? Thank you, Ray. I refer to the CEO, Helen Sway, to respond.
Thank you, Ray. Through the chair. Sediment control devices are commonly installed around major construction sites, such as the Moonee Valley Racecourse redevelopment, to minimize the discharge of sediment, debris, and other pollutants into the stormwater system and local waterways. These measures are implemented in accordance with the developer's general environmental duty under Section 25 of the Environment Protection Act 2017. Developers are responsible for meeting these obligations by implementing the controls outlined in the approved construction site management plan and managing any impacts arising from the works. Thank you.
Thank you. The next two questions are from Anthony Sabato, who is not joining us this evening. So on behalf of Anthony, Anthony's question reads, because the proposed development does not appear to integrate sympathetically into the streetscape and is visually dominant when viewed from the street west across the Albert Wallace Reserve, will the council require further contextualised imagery and visual modelling demonstrating the appearance of the proposed development from Albert Wallace Reserve and the western approach along Middle Street to demonstrate no incompatibility of the proposal with the heritage character of the precinct? Thank you, Anthony. I refer to CEO Helen Sway to respond.
Thank you, Anthony. Through the chair. With regards to the proposed development at 79 Middle Street, Ascot Vale, the assessment as depicted in the council report found that the proposed extension responds appropriately to the heritage significance of the existing dwelling and the surrounding area. It considered that the smaller articulated first floor reduces the building's visibility from Albert Wallace Reserve, and that the design is consistent with other recent developments along Middle Street. More detail is provided in section 3.5 of the report. Thank you.
Thank you. Anthony's second question reads, because the proposed development appears to represent an overdevelopment of the site and a level of site coverage and built intensity that is significantly out of proportion with neighbouring properties, will the council consider a reduction in the number of rooms and therefore reducing the sheer size of the development? Thank you again, Anthony, for your question, and I refer to CEO Helen Sway to respond.
Thank you, Anthony. Through the chair. The assessment as depicted in the council report concluded that the proposed extension is an appropriate scale for the site and fits with the surrounding heritage character. Under the heritage overlay, the assessment was limited to the building's external appearance because no internal alteration controls apply. Thank you.
Thank you. The final two questions are from Tori Palamara, who is not joining us this evening. So on behalf of Tori's first question reads, the proposed development consists of 9 bedrooms with en-suites, with the addition of the patio/sunroom. The size of the patio/sunroom can easily fit in a bed and therefore can be made into a bedroom. Would council consider reducing the number of rooms this development is proposing, given that this room could be a 10th room, in which would then change the classification of this dwelling? This question was asked in initial consultation meeting, and I was told that a bedroom needs to be a minimum of 9 square metres. However, looking online at realestate.com, there are examples of instances where bedrooms are less than 9 square metres. Examples below: 163A Epsom Road, Flemington, Victoria 3031, 37 Sydney Road, Footscray, Victoria 3011, Thank you, Tori. I refer to the CEO, Helen Sway, to respond to your question.
Thank you, Tori. Through the chair, Council can only assess a proposal based on what it is proposed. If there is cause to believe that the proposed 9-bedroom configuration has been increased, planning enforcement action would be initiated in order to determine if the use requires a planning permit under Clause 52.23 rooming house of the Mooley Valley Planning Scheme. While there may be minimum standards in other legislations relating to rooming houses, the Mooley Valley Planning Scheme only allows for an assessment of the standards contained in Clause 52.23 rooming house. Thank you.
Thank you. Tori's second question reads, because the privacy screens and other measures to prevent overlooking as shown on the endorsed plans must be installed in accordance with clause 55.04-4 brackets overlooking of the Mooney Valley Planning Scheme to the satisfaction of the responsible authority, who is the responsible authority and will they ensure at all times they're maintained to the satisfaction of the responsible authority? Thank you, Tori. I refer your question to the CEO, Helen Sway, to respond.
Thank you, Tori. Through the chair, the responsible authority is Mooley Valley City Council. The permit requires all privacy screens and overlooking mitigation measures shown on the endorsed plans to be installed and maintained in accordance with Clause 55.04-4 of the Mooley Valley Planning Scheme. Ongoing maintenance of these measures is the responsibility of the landowner. If Council becomes aware that the approved measures have been altered, removed, or are not being maintained in accordance with the permit and endorsed plans, this may be investigated as a compliance and enforcement matter. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO. The next item on the agenda is reports from delegates. Councillors, do we have any reports as delegates? No? Very good. So we'll move on to item 9, reports. And the first report we have is at 9.1.
Yes, Chair. I have a general conflict of interest with this item. I'm the building manager of a neighbouring property.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Just wait a moment. Item 9.1, NV/62/2026 at 1040 Mount Alexander Road, Essendon. Councillors, the officer's recommendation is shown on the screen. Do I have a motion? Councillor Jones.
I'm happy to move the officer's recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Do we have a seconder for the motion? Thank you, Councillor Fran Crosgrove. Councillor Jones, would you like to speak to the motion?
I will speak to the motion. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So if this application seeks the approval of an 8-storey residential development at 1040 Mount Alexander Road in Essendon, and obviously it's the officer's recommendation is to issue a notice of decision to grant a permit, and there's a comprehensive list of conditions in doing so. Having considered the office report and the attachments before me, I will be supporting this recommendation. It's within the North Essendon Activity Centre. It's close to public transport, trams and Essendon Station. I like the fact personally that it has 16 3-bedroom apartments in it. Not that that's really what's making my decision. I just think it covers, it complies with planning controls. I know that there were a number of objections, but I am comfortable that they have been addressed. And it's a planning decision. We need to assess it against the planning scheme, not necessarily whether we think it's pretty or not. And I think it's an appropriate development for that site. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Councillor Cosgrove, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Yeah, I also acknowledge that I think we've received 13 objections for this proposal, particularly in regards to height and I think overshadowing of the Cliff Allison Reserve, which it's bound by on the west side, and Mount Road on the other way. Park on the east side, road on the west side. But on the whole, I think it's an appropriate balance. It is within our activity centre, and there have been no objections from our planning department, importantly. I think it's a good mix of dwellings, as my colleague said, and, you know, lots of car spaces provided, maybe not as many as people would like, but new residents won't be eligible for any of the on-street parking permits, so they'll have to catch the new trams or cycle. So yeah, happy to endorse the officer's recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Cosgrove. Would any other councillors like to speak to the motion? No? Okay, so we'll put that to the vote, and just a reminder for those online to be visible to me. Yeah, all those in favour of the motion? And that is Councillor John Barnes, Councillor Samantha Byrne, Councillor Fran Cosgrove, Councillor Hamish Jones, Councillor Phil Byrne. All of those are against the motion. And that's Councillor Sypek. I declare that the motion is carried. If we could ask Councillor Adams to return. Thank you. Thank you. The next report item is item 9.2.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'd like to declare a general conflict of interest. Regarding this item, I have family that live in the immediate vicinity.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. We'll just wait a minute for Councillor Jones. Okay, item 9.2, NV/708 2025 at 79 Middle Street, Ascot Vale. Councillors, the officer's recommendation is shown on the screen. Do I have a motion? Councillor Adams.
Move the officer's recommendation, please, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Cosgrove. Councillor Adams, would you like to speak to the motion?
I will, thank you. Firstly, I want to acknowledge the genuine concerns that have been raised by residents about this application. 51 objections were received, and there was also a community consultation meeting chaired by the Mayor. I truly respect that level of community concern and appreciate that for the residents living immediately around this property, they are thinking about their homes, their privacy, their neighbourhood, the use of Albert Wallace Reserve and what this development may mean for their day-to-day lives. It is important, however, that we are clear about what we can and cannot consider under the planning framework that applies to this application. The proposed rooming house use does not require a planning permit because it meets the relevant requirements for buildings and works exemptions in the Moonee Valley Planning Scheme. And in fact, the reason this is before us is because of the heritage overlay that triggers it to come to council. Some of the concerns raised to me by residents are the limited private outdoor space, the scale of the development, the 9 bedrooms, parking, traffic, privacy, overlooking and potential overshadowing. Regarding the concern for the amount of outdoor space for the amount of people, the proposal meets the minimum garden area requirement. And unfortunately, the planning scheme does not provide council with a standard that allows us to assess the proposal on that basis or require a reduction in the number of rooms. Similarly, I understand the concerns about overlooking and overshadowing, particularly for neighbouring properties. However, these residential development standards cannot be assessed through this particular planning application and are instead addressed through the building permit process. Importantly, though, the recommended conditions do require privacy screens and other measures to prevent overlooking to be installed and maintained, which does protect the amenity of the park next door. I also understand the concerns about parking. 9 bedrooms and no on-site car parking understandably raises questions about pressure on surrounding streets, but the planning scheme specifies a zero space requirement for this type of rooming house, and residents will not be eligible for on-street parking permits. Again, it's important to understand why this application is before council in the first place. As I mentioned, the proposed rooming house use does not require a planning permit, and the development itself is exempt from requiring a permit under the general residential zone. The reason this matter comes before council is because the proposed works triggered the heritage overlay, with the site also affected by the environmental significance overlay. That means our role as councillors is not to decide whether a rooming house should happen on this site in the first place. Our responsibility is to assess the application against the planning controls that are actually triggered, particularly whether the proposed works appropriately respond to the heritage significance of the site and the relevant environmental considerations. I understand that residents may have broader concerns about the use, intensity, parking, amenity and neighbourhood character, but we cannot simply use this application as a mechanism to assess matters that the planning framework does not give us power to determine. I also want to be clear that supporting this recommendation should not be interpreted as dismissing the concerns of the 51 objectors. We have listened to those concerns, and I understand why residents have a lot of questions with certain aspects of this proposal. So while I acknowledge that the outcome is not what many residents wanted, I am satisfied that the application before us has been assessed against the planning controls that council is required to apply, and will support the officer recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Councillor Cosgriff, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you. I mean, it was pretty comprehensively summarised by Councillor Adams, but it's a really tricky one where we have very limited scope as council as to what we're actually assessing as the planning authority, and that's the heritage overlay. And there's, having read officer's advice, there's no grounds upon which I think that should be rejected. But I do understand the number of concerns, and I think the sense of anxiety in the community when things are different or changing. And I would, I guess, stress that there are mechanisms. Rooming houses are governed by a certain process and should continue to be, and so that's a different and more appropriate avenue if that is of concern. But also, I think part of our council plan is identifies people without stable housing or experiencing housing stress as a really important community of focus. And we have also identified through our work at council that Flemington and Ascot Vale are areas in Moonee Valley which contain have some of our most disadvantaged groups. So I guess I would happy to support the officer's recommendation, because I don't think there's the planning grounds to not support it, but I do appreciate the anxiety, and you're not. There are further processes after this. You're not at sea, and I hope it all goes relatively smoothly. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cosgriff. Would any other councillors like to speak to the item? Councillor Barnes.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. I've read this pretty well, but I take my hat off to the residents that have put their concerns in. 51 objections is a lot of objections. There's some fantastic points, but unfortunately the complications of where we are in life with what Councillor Cosgriff has just said, with people finding accommodation and things like that, it's a difficult world that we live in. So it's a bit of a bummer for the residents, but unfortunately VCAT will have something to say in it if it goes any further. So I'm supporting the officer's recommendation also. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Barnes. Any other councillors want to speak to the item? Okay. Well, with that, I'll put that to the vote. All of those in favour? It's Councillor Adams, Councillor Barnes, Councillor Cosgriff, Councillor Sypek, Councillor Phil Byrne. All of those against the motion. Councillor Samantha Byrne. So I declare that the motion is carried. If we could, thank you, Councillor Jones back in the room. Okay, the next report item is 9.3, adoption of the fraud and corruption control policy. Councillors, the officer's recommendation is shown on the screen. Do we have a motion? Thank you, Councillor Jones.
I'm happy to move the officer's recommendation.
Do we have a seconder for the motion? Thank you, Councillor Adams. Councillor Jones, would you like to speak to the motion?
Just briefly, thank you, Deputy Mayor. With this motion, we're being asked to adopt the fraud and control policy following community consultation. The consultation's been completed, I think it's important to support this. The officer's recommendation, it supports good governance. It's not about just responding to fraud if and when it occurs. It's about creating systems that prevent it, detecting it early, and giving the community confidence that we are putting resources towards managing it appropriately. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Councillor Adams, would you like to speak to the motion? Okay. Would any other councillors like to speak to the motion? Okay, well, I'll put that to the vote. All of those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. Okay, the next report item is the adoption of the Ageing Well in Moonee Valley Framework. Councillors, the officer's recommendation is on the screen. Do I have a motion? Councillor Adams.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'll move the officer recommendation with a slight amendment.
Okay.
Point 1 to read, adopt the agenda, adopt the Ageing Well in Moonee Valley Framework, in brackets attachment 1, with the addition of a 5th point under theme 3 support. 3.5, ensure access to services and programs that support people remaining safe, independent and living at home. And points 2 and 3 to remain as is in the officer recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Do we have a seconder for the motion? Thank you, Councillor Cosgrove. Councillor Adams, would you like to speak to the motion?
I will, thank you. The Ageing Well in Moonee Valley framework is an important piece of strategic work for our municipality. Ageing well is something that affects all of us, whether we are older people ourselves, supporting ageing parents, caring for family members, or simply thinking about the kind of community we want to live in as we grow older. This framework recognises that ageing well is about much more than health or aged care. It's about being able to remain independent, connected and engaged in our community. It's about accessible public spaces, transport, housing, services and information, as well as addressing issues such as ageism, social isolation and elder abuse. Importantly, this framework has been developed with significant input from our community, council staff, service providers, community organisations and stakeholders. The most recent consultation received 285 survey responses, with 85% of respondents supporting or strongly supporting the framework. We really listened to the feedback received, and the framework has been strengthened to better address access and equity, ageism, culturally appropriate care, mental wellbeing, dementia-friendly environments and climate resilience. Some of the concerns raised through consultation was that a framework needs to translate into action. They raised issues around access to services and in-home support, accessible transport and parking, housing, safe and walkable neighbourhoods, social connection and equitable access. For me, that is where the next stage of this work is particularly important. This framework provides the strategic direction, but the implementation plan will need to turn those priorities into practical programs and initiatives that make a real difference to older people in Moonee Valley. I want to ensure that our municipality is a place where people can grow older with dignity, independence and a strong sense of belonging. I want to thank the Community Advisory Panel, our community members, staff, service providers and organisations who contributed to developing this framework. I'm really pleased to support its adoption tonight, and I look forward to seeing the framework translated into meaningful action across our municipality. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Councillor Cosgrove, would you like to speak to the motion?
Just to thank officers and all of the respondents in the community. I think we had 285 survey responses, which is pretty high for us, and they were very strongly supportive, 85%. I really love the structure of the framework. I support this amendment, I think, to strengthen where we might, we might support people by providing information. This is kind of, I guess, pushing us a little bit further to ensure that we're actually engaging people who might otherwise have trouble engaging with the regular information that we put out. So I also look forward to seeing it come to fruition. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Would any other councillor like to speak to the motion? Okay, I'll put that to the vote. So, and just a reminder, if we can get the cameras on so I can see for people on the call, so I can see the votes. But I'll put that to the vote. All of those in favour. That's Councillor Adams, Councillor John Barnes, Councillor Samantha Byrne, Councillor Fran Cosgrove, Councillor Hamish Jones, Councillor John Sypek, and Councillor Phil Byrne. Yeah, and declare that the motion is carried unanimously. The next report item is 9.5, endorsement of the local area traffic management study, Union Precinct. Councillors, the officer's recommendation is shown on the screen. Do I have a motion? Councillor Cosgrove.
Thank you. I would like to move an alternative, or the officer's recommendation with some amendments, really. Yes, which I will read. That Council resolves to 1. Note the baseline traffic and parking data and community consultation outcomes from the Union Precinct Local Area Traffic Management Study, attachments 1, 2, 3 and 6. 2. Adopt the final traffic management plan for implementation, attachment 4, with the following changes. A. Commence installation of bus-capable speed humps on Francis Street, Ascot Vale, between Union Road and Rothfield Street. And B. Upgrade the existing speed hump to a raised crossing or install a pedestrian crossing immediately north of the speed hump on the Crescent, Ascot Vale, immediately south of St Leonard's Road intersection. 3. Note the traffic management plan will be reviewed after 6 months. Note that the traffic management plan will be reviewed 6 months after implementation to assess effectiveness and determine if any further interventions outlined are warranted. 4. Adopt the final parking management plan for implementation, attachment 7. 5. Note that property owners and occupiers and other key stakeholders, including but not limited to traders associations, Homes Victoria, Wingate Community Centre and the like, within the Union Precinct will be advised of the outcome of the report. 6. Note that the report requested in Council Meeting Minute 2026/64 on active transport matters may have recommendations relating to traffic and parking management within the Union Precinct. 7. Review parking arrangements for Rosebery Street, Ascot Vale, between Union Road and Ferguson Street, and undertake targeted consultation 6 months following the reopening of Coronation Kindergarten. 8. Request the CEO or delegate to write to the principal of St Mary's Primary School regarding the recommendation in the final parking management plan to extend the school drop-off zone subject to a suitable access gate being installed by the school for the school's consideration. 9. Note that Council and the Department of Transport and Planning are working towards improving the safety of the Milton Street and Maribyrnong Road intersection with regard to extending the Keep Clear across Maribyrnong Road, changing parking restrictions immediately east of Milton Street, and activation of the pedestrian signals to the west of Milton Street from vehicles in Milton Street. 10. Note that the reactivation of Union Square on the western side of Union Road was raised in feedback on the Union Latham, and request an evaluation of past interventions and further feasibility of activating this site as a public or community space to complement the refurbished Ascot Vale Library be undertaken by officers with subsequent report to Council by February 2027.
Thank you, Councillor Cosgrove. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Adams. Councillor Cosgrove, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you. Firstly, I'd like to thank officers for all their work. You might, from the length of the amendment, I hope it's evident that there's a lot of work that goes into these Latham plans, and they are kind of microscopic, area by area. And this is just speaking to the work and all of the community consultation that occurred as well. So just get my... I guess in terms of the changes, the main sort of change being proposed in this amendment is that the installation of the speed bumps on Francis Street be brought forward. It was going to be after 6 months that would be reviewed, but it is more in keeping with the feedback we received that happens straight away, with others pending a 6-month review. And then all the rest of the parts are to try to capture the consultation that has happened, the feedback, amazing feedback we've gotten from the community, the multiple intersecting pieces of work that are happening between council and DTP and schools and traders associations. So just really wanted to acknowledge all of that and ask for some further information back in the future. I think some hopefully really positive changes that will come out of this are the pedestrian safety getting to and from Ascot Vale Station, as well as the safety of the kids around St Mary's Primary School with the rollout of the 30 km/h zones in line with new guidance. Yeah, and obviously we requested a follow-up on, or I've requested a follow-up on what was Union Square during COVID, where we closed off the street in front of Ascot Vale Library, which is now open and beautiful again, and we've had a lot of feedback from people in the area that they might like to have that closed off to traffic again. So I'm sure I've missed things, but I'll leave it there. Thanks, Deputy Mayor.
Thanks very much, Councillor Cosgrove. Councillor Adams, would you like to speak to the amendment? Thank you, Councillor Adams. Before I put the item to a vote, we'll take an adjournment for 5 minutes and we'll come back at 7:26. We've got someone trying to get back up on the screen, so we'll just try and do that, and then we'll be back at 7:26 and see. We'll go from there. Okay. Thank you. Thanks for your patience, everyone. Was there any, and we're on item 9.5, and were there any other councillors that wanted to speak to this item? Councillor Samantha Byrne.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I will, and I do apologise because of the adjournment. I came off the page I was going to be on, so I'm a little bit all over the place. But I particularly like LADAMs and the amount of work that goes into them. But one thing that I really do like is reading through the very, very detailed community consultation. And I'm very much looking at this in splitting up the traffic side of things and the parking side of things. And when you go into the traffic side of things and the community consultation, it's very clear to me that people do not want 30-kilometre-an-hour speed limits installed on their local streets. That is glaringly obvious. And we are still doing that. And we've been given an out and we're not taking it. So I won't be supporting this today because I don't think it's what the residents want in these particular streets. So yes, I won't be supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Samantha Byrne. Was there any other councillors that wanted to speak to this item? Okay, Councillor Cosgrove, would you like a right of reply to the dissent?
Thank you. I think as someone who lives a bit closer to Ascot Vale, you'd be hard pushed to get above 30 in lots of those streets, and if you are, then hard pushed, you'd probably be doing the wrong thing, I'd say. But I guess I appreciate that it's a bit of a divisive number, but really it's this is about safety, and particularly around Union Road precinct, where we've got heaps of children, heaps of schools. It's a wonderful place. The families are always out. You just can't. There's nothing more important than keeping people safe, and there is lots of evidence from work done by Infrastructure Victoria and from overseas that 30 kilometres an hour saves lives and reduces injury to our friends and family. So I appreciate that it likes to be picked up sometimes as a bit of a scary number, but particularly in our south end of Moonee Valley, the streets are so small and busy that you're often not getting much faster than that anyway. So appreciate the comment, but I do feel it's an appropriate treatment for these areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cosgrove. So I'll put that to the vote now. Can I have the cameras on? Thank you. So all those in favour of the motion? That's Councillor Adams, Councillor Cosgrove, Councillor Byrne, and all those against the motion. That's Councillor Barnes, Councillor Samantha Byrne, Councillor Hamish Jones, and Councillor John Sypek. That motion is, I declare that motion is lost. The next report item, sorry.
Can I request an adjournment, perhaps?
Yeah, sure. 3 minutes?
3 minutes, great.
3 minutes?
Thank you.
So we'll come back at 7:40. Thanks, everyone. The next item is 9.6, proposed scaling of 2 initiatives for the Let's Go Zero Community Carbon Emissions Reduction Program. Councillors, the officer's recommendation is shown on the screen. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Councillor Adams.
I'll move the officer's recommendation.
Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Cosgrove. Councillor Adams, would you like to speak to the motion?
I will, thanks, Deputy Mayor. The officer recommendation is to allocate $140,000 from the Community Climate Emissions Reduction Reserve to continue and expand 2 successful Let's Go Zero initiatives. The 2 initiatives we are being asked to continue are an energy bills advisory service and a community education program delivered through our libraries. The Energy Advisory Service has already assisted 210 people, providing tailored advice to help residents better understand their energy bills, reduce their energy consumption, and importantly, reduce their household costs. That cost of living component is particularly important. Climate action is not just about emissions targets, it can also help households save money and make their homes more comfortable and energy efficient. The second initiative delivered through our libraries has also demonstrated strong results. Of those attending the energy efficiency education sessions, 100% of the people surveyed reported increased knowledge, while 95% reported an intention to take action. The proposed expansion would take this a step further with up to 15 workshops and information sessions and the establishment of a library of things, potentially providing residents with access to items such as portable induction cooktops, energy kits and e-bikes. I think this is a fantastic example of how our libraries can operate as trusted community hubs, not just simply places to borrow books, but places where people can learn, access resources and try new technologies without having to purchase something they may only use occasionally. We also have strong evidence that the broader Let's Go Zero program is delivering results. The previous initiatives have already achieved a tangible reduction of 1,019 tonnes of community carbon emissions, with the potential for significantly greater reductions over 10 years. They've also delivered more than $100,000 in tangible cost savings through energy efficient appliances and rooftops solar. Importantly, both initiatives have demonstrated strong uptake, measurable outcomes and clear demand for continuation. I'm really pleased to support the officer recommendation to help residents save money, help households reduce emissions, build knowledge and skills in our community and progressing our MV 2040 goal of achieving zero net emissions by 2040. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Councillor Cosgrove, did you want to talk to the item?
No, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Nothing further.
Okay, would any other councillors like to speak to the motion? Okay. I'll put that to the vote. All of those in favour? Councillor Adams, Councillor Cosgrove, Councillor Hamish Jones. Is that I can see the hand. Thank you, Councillor Theocharides and Councillor Byrne. All those against the motion? Councillor Barnes and Councillor Samantha Byrne. I declare that the motion... I beg your pardon. Sorry, John. Councillor Sypek as well. So I declare that the motion is lost. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. Hang on. Sorry. Okay, thank you. Apologies, everyone. That motion was carried, and I am going to call for an adjournment for another 5 minutes, I'm afraid, and we'll come back at 7:55. Okay, so the next item we have is report item 9.7, Audit and Risk Committee minutes of the 15th of June 2026 meeting and biannual report. Councillors, the officer's recommendation is shown on the screen. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I will move the officer's recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Cosgrove. Councillor Jones, would you like to speak to the motion?
I will just briefly. As a member of the Audit and Risk Committee, I'm happy to move the officer's recommendation. The minutes are confirmed by committee members. I was in attendance at all those meetings. I think that the Audit and Risk Committee does a lot of heavy lifting with the expertise of our independent members providing some great advice to council, and I thank thank fellow councillors, Councillor Cosgrove and Councillor Sypek, for participating, as well as councillor members.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Councillor Cosgrove, do you want to speak to the motion?
No, nothing further. Thank you.
Okay, would any other councillors like to speak to the motion? Okay, well, I'll put that to the vote. All of those in favour? And that's a thumb, a bit high, John. It's carried unanimously. That's right. Our next report item is item 9.8, options for the composition of the CEO Employment and Remuneration Committee. Councillors, the officer's recommendation is shown on the screen. Do I have a motion? Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'd like to move an alternative motion, if I may. I'd like, just make sure that's the right one on seat. Yep, I'd like to move that Council resolves to 1, note the 3 options presented in this report in relation to the composition of the CEO Employment and Remuneration Committee. 2, adopt option 1, all councillors and an independent chair. 3, adopt the Chief Executive Officer in bracket CEO, Employment and Remuneration Policy, Attachment 1. Dissolve the current CEO Employment and Remuneration Committee effective from 1 August 2026 and request officers to notify the independent members of this decision and thank them for their contribution. 5. Establish the CEO Employment Matters Committee comprising all councillors and an independent chair effective from 1 August 2026. And 6. Note the current independent chair continues their term as per Council Resolution CM 2025-12 on 28 January 2025.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Councillor Cosgrove. Oh, sorry. I beg your pardon. Do we have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Sypek. Councillor Jones, would you like to speak to the item?
I will speak to the motion. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. As councillor group, we are all responsible for and accountable for the employment of the CEO and everything related to that employment and remuneration. We have responsibilities under the Local Government Act in relation to this, and for that reason, firstly, I think it's appropriate that every councillor has the opportunity to participate fully in these discussions and understand the matters that will ultimately be discussed. I think it promotes the collective responsibility we all have, rather than relying on a smaller committee. And whilst I'm not doubting or discrediting any work that's happened in the previous year, I think that through all councillors participating fully, we get to get the information and interpret in our own way. I think the independent leadership is an important way of strengthening that governance. An independent chair can help facilitate discussions, provides governance expertise, and ensures the process remains fair, structured, and consistent. I think it combines the democratic accountability of elected councils with that independent expertise. Having all councillors involved also improves the transparency within council. It ensures all elected representatives receive the same information and participate fully in all discussions. It reduces the risk of information asymmetry and helps council make better informed decisions when employment matters arise. And I think that it reinforces these are governance decisions that the collective responsibility of all councillors. I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Councillor Sypek, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. As there's 79 councils in Victoria, we are the only council, the only one that has this separate committee, whereas all the other councils have all their councillors on board on this committee. I too believe that as councillors, we only employ one person, the CEO, and I believe it is our fiduciary responsibility, it's our stewardship responsibility to be there and to all of us assess this as a group and not just as a selective group. And like I said, I'm not saying there was anything wrong with it. We did go by what the monitors recommended, but I somehow disagree with it because 79 other councils are doing it one way and we are the only ones doing it this way. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sypek. Would any other councillors like to speak to the item? Councillor Barnes.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I would like to think that we're a team, and I think we should all vote as a team, and I think that would be a great outcome for council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Barnes. Would anyone else like to speak to the item? Councillor Samantha Byrne.
Just that I think that it is one of the most important things that we do as councillors, working with the CEO, and I think that all councillors should be on the Employment and Remuneration Committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Samantha Byrne. Would anyone else like to speak to the motion? Okay, well, I'll put that to the vote. All of those in favour. So Councillor Adams, Councillor Barnes, Councillor Samantha Byrne, Councillor Fran Crossgrove, Councillor Hamish Jones, Councillor John Sypek, Councillor Theocharides. Those against the motion, Councillor Byrne. I declare that the motion is carried. Okay, item 10 is notices of motion. Councillors, item 10 on the agenda is notice of motions, and we have none listed in tonight's agenda, so we will move on to item 11. Item 11, urgent business. Councillors, do we have any urgent business? If not, we'll move on to item 12. Item 12, confidential items. We have one confidential item listed on the agenda this evening. The motion to close the meeting to the public pursuant to section 66(2) of the Local Government Act 2020 to consider the confidential item 12.1 sport infrastructure update is displayed on the screen. Can I please have a mover and a seconder? Moved Councillor Cosgrove. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Adams. Councillor Cosgrove, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. Just that, as per the advice, it's the decision to move it into confidential to avoid prejudicing Council's business position, which is obviously important, and so I support Officer's recommendation for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cosgrove. Councillor Adams, would you like to speak to the motion? Would any other councillors like to speak to the item? No, well, I'll put that to the vote. All of those in favour? That's Councillor Adams, Councillor Samantha Byrne, Councillor John Barnes, Councillor Fran Crossgrove, Councillor Hamish Jones, Councillor John Sypek. I can see your box, Councillor Theocharides, but I can't see you. I can't see if you've got your camera. Can you turn that on? Okay, so I'll, yeah, okay, and so I declare that That is carried unanimously. So this is where we say goodnight to those watching the meeting via the live stream and to those in the chamber at 8:05 p.m. The next council meeting will be held on Tuesday the 25th of August 2026. Good night.